Good evening, everybody, and welcome to KMS Star Wars Episode 5. Got a great show coming up for you tonight. We'll be looking at Minner's Network and KMS Network shows and talking about them through the lens of Star Wars, as we always do. It's gonna be some great stuff planned. We dig into some really old shows, some new shows, and some long-running shows. It's going to be great. But first, as we always do, we're going to start off with some Q&A from, and as always, these are real viewer questions from real viewers. So let's get started. Captain Phasma, put them up on the board, please. All right, first question. The main show spent about 5 to 10 minutes on Star Wars Thursday. Please comment. Yes, I thought that was a great segment they had. They talked about more like box office stuff, which isn't my thing. I'm more of a just the content, what happens on the show between the opening titles and the end credits. That's mostly what I care about. That's a perfect balance. I'm talking about the Star Wars content here. They're doing box office type stuff, so we're really sort of playing off each other's content. We're reacting to each other almost real time. So it's great. I think we've got a real this show and the main show are starting to have a real symbiotic relationship going. I'm very excited for more Star Wars content from them coming up. Next, are you considering following in the footsteps of George Lucas in remastering your early episodes of KMS Star Wars? Wow, that's a great question. Unfortunately, I'm not prepared to reveal any information about that yet. Things are happening a little too early, but stay tuned. There may be an announcement coming up about that, and maybe not. Do you have any plans for a live show? Oh, wow, another. Sounds like some people are getting some inside information from someone here. Captain Phasma, you know anything about that? Let's try to keep a tighter rein on those interns. But yeah, I mean, it's under consideration. Really, my main focus now is finishing up this first season of KMS Star Wars and finishing it up strong. So all our efforts are on that. I also don't want to do much pre-planning for a live show because with Sako coming up. I'm expecting there'll be offers on the table for me to do some sort of opening act there. So I wouldn't want to, I want to save my material for that, have that ready to go when I get asked. So not a specific dedicated live show just to KMS Star Wars yet, but yeah, stay tuned. Maybe after season 1. How do you find the time to record your own show? I want to, but between watching the main show, all Minifan content, YouTube live commenting, pretending to hate the show, replying to every tweet, Discord, and live streaming video games, there's just no time left in the week for recording a show. Well, House of Taint, yeah, it seems like you're pretty busy and dedicated to this show. You must be spending 40 to 50 hours a week on it. And yeah, there's certainly, assuming you have a family, it doesn't sound like you have a family or a job, so yeah, there's probably, you might have some time, but if creating a show is what's important to you, some of the stuff is just going to have to go. You have to prioritize it. Right now, I'd probably cut out the YouTube live commenting on everything, pretending to hate the show. That's going to be quite time consuming. Replying to every tweet, yeah. Discord would be the first to go. Video games, yeah, I agree. So you just have to know what's important to you. You seem like a clout guy to me, and if that's what's important to you, I'm interested in creating 10 to 15 minutes of entertainment for the Minifans once a week. That's what I like to do. That's my art. If that's something you'd like to do, you're going to have to make some hard decisions and prioritize your life accordingly. But sounds like you've got things going on pretty good here. So yeah, you can reach out to me in the DMs if you have any you need any more personal coaching on life or even production. So, Phasma, where's the next? What? That's all the questions. Oh, don't overwork yourself, Captain Phasma. Jeez. All right, well, let's get ready to the main part of the show. We're going to be talking about Minner's Network and KMS Network shows. So we're going to start with, this was stuff from the old KMS Network, which really became the Minner's Network. So there's a lot of gray area back and forth. I'm going to start with some really old shows from the original KMS network. Okay, first show we're going to look at is we have to start where it all began with Great Thinkers. Now, this show just came out of nowhere. I don't remember if there was any build up to it or anything. I just remember looking at Twitter one day, all of a sudden, Dave Cullinane or the Kirk Minahan show went live with video, and there's Dave with, I think it was like Matt from Providence and R.A. Minahan probably, in like a around the horn style show, and it was just so innovative and groundbreaking to see, this sort of, you know, fan experience interacting live with, the KMS content. It was just out of nowhere and very groundbreaking. Um, yeah, this reminded me of the first time I ever saw Star Wars characters doing things outside of the main movie, and that was on the Muppet Show. I remember this, I didn't see it live. I was too young, but in reruns, I remember seeing, everybody was there: Luke and Leia and Chewie and 3PO, and they were on the Muppet Show, and it was like hilarious and great. And it really, probably set the stage for lots of other Star Wars to be invested in other content and other platforms. It was just a great start for both KMS world and the Star Wars universe. All right, next up, if great thinkers started it all. Mike and the Minifans perfected it. This is the show that it's been. It took some breaks and new hosts and stuff, but this has been the most long running, tried and true. It's almost like the comfort food of KMS and Minner's Network. It has the classic format: recap, reactions, things like that. And this to me, not a spin-off, but this is Star Wars Episode 4, New Hope. It is where it began, and where it's perfected, and it's the one you always come back to. You might watch a bunch of garbage shows out there, the other Star Wars stuff, maybe read some books, but you always come back to Episode 4, Star Wars. It's what we know, what we love, and that's Mike and the Minifans every Friday night. These next couple are some deep cut shows from I would consider the original golden age of the KMS network. First off, the Minturn show. So this was a show that Kirk made the interns do. I think it just started with Justin and Will. Maybe Nick was on at the beginning too. And then we saw DJ K at some point in there. And this was good because they weren't just recapping; they were sort of uh, just going back and forth and bickering with each other. Actually, was some of the best parts. I mean, let's be clear. This show was terrible, like just absolutely terrible. But it was one of my favorites because it was just so bad. And this is well, except for one of my favorites part. This is Attack of the Clones, episode 2. It's you just had to watch it because you had to. It's a Star Wars mainline movie. You have to watch this movie, but it's terrible. Um, and that's the Minturn show. It's much watch TV because it's just terrible. So yeah, I mentioned this with the last show. I mentioned DJK. This leads us to the next show, which was Nobody's Listening, and this was another one that just in the golden age, the show came out of nowhere. The host DJK, or Alistair Black as he called himself, also came out of nowhere. Um, and it was just one night after a couple shows, this debuted. Nobody had no idea what it was, and he just you know demolished every single minifan and clout chaser in the universe, and it was just very very funny. He had like 1,000 jump cuts in it. It was like each shot was like 3 seconds. Um, and he talked about how he was gonna be bigger than Kirk because he had achieved more at a younger age. It was just amazing. Um, I like this a lot. This kind of reminds me of Rogue One, another movie that sort of, not that it didn't come out of nowhere, but we were all gearing up for that Force Awakens and that third trilogy, and then Rogue One comes along and you think, oh, what is this? This is probably going to be stupid, and it turns out to be one of the best shows or best movies out there in the Star Wars world. So yeah, if you can go back and watch really just the first episode, all these shows are still on YouTube. Search for Nobody's Listening and try to find the first episode. So funny. He was just by himself and he kept talking up his future co-host Stin Man, and eventually he came on and was the biggest zero in the world. It was hilarious. So definitely check this one out. Go to some more current active shows on the networks, and we'll start with Drips in the Office, which is in on the KMS network. And this show, it's two drips, Drip Lord and the Faucet, just talking about random drippy things. Um, yeah, it's a good listen if the topics interest you. Sometimes it's a bit overproduced, but it's good to listen to late at night, fall asleep to. Um, Kind of reminds me of a newer show in the Star Wars world, Andor. Now, this Andor gets a lot of praise from critics. A lot of people. Jeff D. Lowe loves it. I found it very boring. Um, it was just very overscripted, lots of talking. It's all just scene by scene of two people talking in a room, cut to three people talking in a room, and just explaining everything and barely showing anything aside from like one or two episodes when he's in that prison. So, that's the drips. But that's what they're supposed to be. So it's a successful show for them. Not for everybody if you're trying to stay awake, but yeah, good show. All right, we also, have to talk about KMS Rundown. This was a show, actually, it started in a different format. It started, if I'm remembering correctly, it started on a Friday night. Um, in I think it was late night Friday night, which I really liked, and Red and John and Scranton started it, and they would alternate hosts and alternate guests. It was more like barstool rundown style with that bar on the side. I think like PTI style, and they would go through topics, hit him fast, move in and out. Really like that. Then Red and Ziggy took it over fully by themselves and moved it to Saturday, and came more of a produced, um, kind of a bit style show. Still very very good, but I want to talk about its comeback in the past few months. It was off the air for a while, came back to a lot of hype, a lot of excitement, and then just sort of fizzled and died. It lost that magic. Rarely were the guests, Ziggy and Red together, maybe one episode. Um, so yeah, this reminds me of the Obi-Wan Kenobi show that came back. A lot of excitement. Everybody loved Obi-Wan. Ewan McGregor playing him especially. I was very excited to see him back, and you got some good parts. You got some, another lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. There was some good stuff. Overall, though, kind of a disappointment. And I doubt there'll be a season two of that show. And it seems like that instance of the rundown is DED dead. But luckily, it'll be revived on the Minner's Minifan network to great praise, I'm sure. I want to wrap this one up with a show I don't quite understand. It's obviously the longest, aside from Mike and the Minifans. Yeah, it might actually have beaten it, but one of the most long-running shows on the network, and that is the 420 show. Now, disclaimer: I've never watched this show, and up until a week ago, I thought this was the same show as the Lemon Haze show from the earlier versions, which I did see. And I don't think it's related at all, other than they're both about weed. Um, so again, I've never watched this. There's like 4,000 episodes of it. If you tune in, you probably won't understand what's going on, but it has its loyal base. Um, so there's no real Star Wars show like this, but I think of this as like a compilation of all those Star Wars non-canon Star Wars books and fan fiction. They were very popular in the '90s. You'd go through and you just get tons of Star Wars books, and I think they used to be canon, and then they delisted them. It's part of I think Legends now, but there's stuff like Splinters of the Mind's Eye, and there was some good I think Boba Fett type books in the '90s, but just tons and tons of these books, which you can find on eBay or whatever, and maybe used bookstores. And if that's your bag, it's tons of content for you. Probably not for the main, show listeners at all times, but it's great. It's out there. It's an option for people if they want it. Hey, I think that's all. That's all we got time for today. I think. What's that? Oh, there's one more. Oh, okay. We'll put it up on the screen. I didn't know there was one more. Oh, KMS Star Wars. Yeah, very funny, Captain Phasma. Yeah, thank you, team. Yeah, but you can't hear it because the microphone is so good. But everybody's applauding here. You know, please, no need to do this. I'm probably gonna edit this out at the end, but yeah, KMS Star Wars. Yeah, it's obviously been a huge hit. What it's like, I guess, probably The Empire Strikes Back. You know, I don't want to get too deep into it. You know, it's and toot my own horn or anything. So we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, we'll call this show like The Empire Strikes Back of the universe. Signing off for real this time. I hope you enjoyed the show. Any feedback, questions, please send along. DMs are always open, and I'm sure we'll be back next week with another fantabulous show. Good night, everybody.